Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. We've got over 2,000 on this side in terms of options for your listening pleasure. This is the Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling Review Series for December the 4th, 1982. We'll be starting 1983 maybe tomorrow. Definitely this week, though, and would love to get that done within, if everything went well, about a week to 10 days per year is what I'd like to see the pace be. But obviously, running multiple businesses, not always an option. Anyway, we come into various things with a the television champion Leroy Brown basically saying no one can beat him. Also, there is highlights of the attack on Roddy Piper the previous week. Piper, there's a photo taken where his face is all welted up, scraped up, whatever have you. Obviously, that is from the attack from Flair and Valentine and everything that goes on with that. Then we kind of move into other various championship deals there and matches. And again, highlights again the hanging uh, of Youngblood is a thing here. The highlights from the arenas. One thing I will say, the Carolinas and the arenas in the Carolinas much better as it were in terms of just live event intensity of attendance. Again, the hanging of Youngblood and the damage to Youngblood has been highlighted over the last several weeks. Then we go to a series of matches in the area. Slaughter and Kernoodle in a tag team match to open the program proper. And Kernoodle, with the jumping elbow. Hall and Black versus Slaughter and Kernoodle opens the program here. Um, Real basic. I mean, nothing that you're going to be surprised about. Punch kick, basic maneuvers. Slaughter with some body slams and tries to get advantages wherever he possibly can. And taking his man into the other corner. I mean, they try to give a little bit of offense to the enhancement team, but it's not really done all that well there. And Slaughter and Kernoodle use the gut buster, among other things, to get a victory for themselves to close the program. And then the kind of atomic smasher elevated clothesline from a backbreaker position by the tag team of Slaughter and Kernoodle. We move to Greg Valentine, who I believe is your Mid Atlantic champion at the time, facing off against an enhancement talent known as Rick Rudd, which ends up being Ravishing Rick Rude. And Valentine goes behind and tries to roll his man up pretty quickly. Valentine with the hammer shots and basic maneuvers along the way tries to roll up his adversary and doesn't get him, holds him on the ropes a little bit, and tries to punish him wherever he can. Valentine also kind of stepping over with the figure four leg lock and a spinning toe hold, kind of mocking Briscoe a little bit. Maybe Valentine Briscoe a program later, but Valentine does fall into the figure four, and then we see Sweet Brown Sugar calling out whomever wants challenges with whatever talent is there. Ends up moving into the program with Dory Funk Jr. Bob Orton Jr. is up next, cutting a promo where he's willing to fight Valentine, willing to fight whomever. Enhancement style match with Sweet Brown Sugar in the next in series of matches there. Joe Lagan and Sweet Brown Sugar. Sweet Brown Sugar, obviously an African American individual who, Lagan manages to get a couple of moves off, but even something as simple as the head scissors by Sweet Brown Sugar is better. Sweet Brown Sugar also works over the leg of his opponent pretty aggressively, assertively, and manages to take him down. Basic maneuvers there, and ultimately getting things going according to plan. Um, Shoulder tackle and basic maneuvers along the way, and then we kind of see drop kicks under the chin and head scissors attempted by Sweet Brown Sugar. Sugar takes him over into a pinning combination off a head scissors, which is a bizarre victory way, but does manage to get the victory in that way. Then we move forward to the next in series of matches, which in this case happens to be the continuation of thing Orton versus Rick Connors. Rick Connors may sound like a important name, and I believe he was an independent promoter in Pennsylvania for a while throughout the 2000s or so, early 2000s anyway. Orton does not release the hold even when Connors tries to go for a takedown. Orton with some ride time, and Orton looks to be in $1 million worth of value there. Hard shots by Orton, and Orton manages to go for the superplex, which might very well be the popularization of the superplex, hanging style, by the way, and floats over into a pinning combination and a win. Mike Rotundo cuts an interview basically saying that he has challenged just about everybody and is continuing to fight his best fight, and taking on the television champion in Leroy Brown, says he's going to win that championship and do it on his own. Their matches have been pretty notable. However, this is a Leroy Brown match against another individual, but he wants, and I believe it's Mike Davis, but he wants Rotundo kicked out of the building, kicked out of the area. The champion, obviously, is high cross bodied, caught with a body slam, and Leroy Brown is dominant throughout. But the feud between the combination of Brown and Rotundo far from over, and needless to say, Leroy Brown is not a guy that you'd want to cross if he were an angry fellow. The enhancement talent for Brown does get a little bit more offense than one would expect in this particular type of scenario. Back elbows and other basic maneuvers, and Brown gets some splashes. Again, Paul Jones talking about being number one. Talking about the fans giving him that support even if he doesn't have the championship or when he does. Joe LeDoux talks about wanting to fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Doesn't care who it is, doesn't care where it is, just wants to fight. You can see the scars on his head from cutting himself wide open whenever necessary. And we go into the, I guess you'd say, arena-style matches, darker lighting by any stretch of the imagination, certainly. And we move to LeDoux and Anderson and Jones versus Richie, Weaver, and Parsons. As I grab my phone, we'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail to finish this off. And again, as mentioned, basic stuff. Nothing to write home about. The heel tag team gets as much of an advantage as they can. They get about 8 minutes out of the match, and Jones takes a good bit of the match. Jones probably the most veteran of the bunch, and not exactly a guy who, is going to get bumped around. Gene Anderson being a part of that team also. Interesting because Anderson, I think, is in his last year, if not second to last year, maybe 83 the final year, but 82 I know he helped break Al Snow in. There's a lot of controversy around that in these days, but anyhow, the baby faces do not get much of an advantage. This is a squash match just to fill TV time. Joe LeDoux continuing to be in control and wanting to be dominant throughout. Hype a little bit begins for the Bruiser Brody concept, and ultimately there is kind of a runaround there, and once again, Leroy Brown closes the show basically saying that he will not lose the television championship and is not going to be stopped by anybody, and the House of Humperdinck still in major control. Humperdinck, a major guy in the time period in ways that I did not even realize.